This project was deliberately and provocatively called Value Beyond Value Chains, because if you're engaging with a government at the level of policy, it's going to be relevant to your value chain, but it's also going to have broader application. Nowadays, I think there's many more companies that are doing the opposite, which is advocating to governments for a regulatory framework which does support sustainability, whether it's sustainable production or sustainable value chains, sustainable food systems.
Go back to how do you get companies engaged? My experience has been is that if you go courting a company after you design a project, it's too late, or initiative. I believe that for this to work, they need to be at the table from the day one.
Very, very positive relationships, coming from, when you talk about Nestle, a lot of these companies, Nestle, Unilever, Mondelez, they're not actually so directly working with a lot of the commodities. They're doing it through their supply chain companies. So they're investing finance through there. And I think that's where, we have quite a good role in helping to support how you build these procurement networks, which are bringing value to the farmers and building into the, more commercial, cooperative or farmer producer organizations approach.
We need to, first of all, segment the private sector, much more than we do, but then also how we design our processes. So it's not just we have one dialogue workshop that happens once a quarter or once every 6 months and everybody gets invited, that we actually, have much more tailored processes for engaging companies in the way that is going to be interesting and useful to them.
In Africa, sometimes is also heavily politicized. So there's also the risk of, if you involve private sector in policy making, if you are, for instance, working in coffee value chain and you involve organizations or corporates that are involved in the coffee business, there's a risk that others will think maybe they're there to influence policies in their own favor. How do we surmount this?
So you end up with a situation where a company is in a perpetual competitive disadvantage because they're taking on greater costs than the rest of the market and some of their competitors. So this particular way of thinking is really about how do we raise standards across the board. So how do we create a more positive enabling environment, particularly policies, but also the wider enabling environment for raising the floor.